It's Q&A day here on College Football Smothered and Covered. Plus, are SEC coaches making the right decisions at quarterback? It's College Football Smothered and Covered. Of course, we are powered by Locked On.
You are Locked On College Football Smothered and Covered with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome into the show. It's a big Monday morning. If you're catching this in the afternoon, it's Monday afternoon, but I have a neurologist appointment in between, so we might find out if I have a working brain or not. There is some debate for that, but there's no debate that I thank you for being the first listen, making this show your first listen every single day. Of course, you can find us YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, something that I'm going to need because I was up a little late last night, 5-Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your first order. This order is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. Today it is Q&A day. So we're going to get to some of your questions. And then we're also going to talk about some decisions that SEC coaches made about quarterbacks, which I'm not necessarily thrilled about. But let's get some Q&A. James Mack on the Twitter X machine. Will Lane jump ship? Will Lane Kiffin jump ship if Billy Napier is fired? Is Florida a better job than Ole Miss? The answer is no, not for Lane, because it's all about perspective, right? And there's a great piece that my friend Chris Lowe just put up with Lane Kiffin, talking about how he feels at home and how he's matured and his sobriety and all this stuff that's gone on in his life, both professionally and personally. And it goes back to what I've said for a long time. The difference between a top 5 job and a top 50 or a top 60 or a top 70 job, it's condensed. It's condensed. You go back and look at the Steve Spurrier era, or even after Ron Zook, when Urban got hired, Florida was on a pedestal, man. It was way up there because of prestige, the ability to win at a high level, money, all that stuff, right? Things have changed because, the salaries are much closer. Not just at the Power 5 level or Power 4 level, but I mean, hell, there are some group of 5 teams that are going to start spending some money here in the not too distant future that's comparable to what those numbers were 5 years ago across major college football. So there's that, but it's also about personality, right? Does Lane fit at Florida? Does Lane fit anywhere else? At Alabama, at Auburn, when Auburn pursued him? It's about his mindset. And I think talking to people around that program, I haven't talked to Lane about this, and he wouldn't allow me to talk about this publicly anyway, but he is perfectly built for Ole Miss. He's the king of that entire town. If they win 10 games a year, you could build multiple statues in Oxford for Lane Kiffin. He has found the perfect place to fit him both personally in terms of his mindset and professionally in terms of how he operates as a head coach. It's the perfect recipe. It's like a scientist in a lab just mixing things together, and Lane Kiffin gets spit out in blue and red in Oxford. It's like, oh yeah, moving on. That's how this operates. So I don't think he will. And as far as Florida being a better program than Ole Miss in this landscape, again, it does go back to the beholder, but it's just so hard for me to wrap my arms around why anybody would want to go to Florida right now? If you're a top tier head coach, right? And I just got done saying that top 5 job, top 50 job, not much difference. Depends on the person, right? But if you're an established Power 4 head coach, would you want to go into a situation at Florida where you've had two straight 3-and-outs? Well, 3 count McElwain. You're just churning through head coaches. At Florida, you churn through head coaches. Nobody can get it right. And you have a president who resigned. And prayers up to Ben Sass and his family. It's about as dysfunctional as you can get, because the people that would even hire you might not even be the ones that extend you if you're successful. So, no, Florida is not a better job. It's not a better program than Ole Miss in this particular landscape. There's stability at Ole Miss. There's instability at Florida. There's upside to win a national championship at Ole Miss. You also have that at Florida. So for Lane, it's all about personality. Does he want to deal with the crap at Florida, or does he want to continue being the king of Oxford? I'm pretty sure everybody knows the answer to that. Next up in our Q&A, Alini Afuvava. 2 weeks into the season, is Utah the Big 12 favorite? I want to put, we don't have the copyrights to put in that Homer Simpson drop of yes, oh God, yes. But the answer is yes. And this is a flip for me because I had Oklahoma State in the Big 12 and going to the college football playoff and being the number 4 seed. I'd change that to Utah right now. I know we're all kind of wrapped up in Oklahoma State and how they beat Arkansas and how wild that was. Arkansas gave that game away. And I don't necessarily think we're putting that sentence, Arkansas gave that game away, in proper context. I still don't believe Arkansas is very good. They're okay. I don't think they're very good. I think that defensively, they're going to have issues against average to a slightly above average offensive fronts. Quarterbacks, I still think, will have a field day against them. Good quarterbacks. So, yes, getting the win for Oklahoma State's great. It's also kind of an indictment about where you are. So, with Utah, defense, awesome. Winning without Cam Rising, winning the line of scrimmage. Now, granted, Cam Rising played, but they know how to do it without him. And hopefully he comes back and he's better than ever and all that other stuff. But to me, watching Utah, especially game 2, this game 1 was kind of a mess. There was a lot of stuff happening for me that I couldn't tune in as much as I'd like to. But it's a Kyle Whittingham team. They've already taken on the personality of their head coach and are cranking along exactly how Utah's supposed to be cranking along. Everybody else in the Big 12, Kansas State, I don't know about that. Well, we'll see. Arizona, I've never been the biggest Arizona guy. Kansas State, Kansas with the loss, there's not much for me through 2 weeks, plus week 0, to get excited about in the Big 12 in terms of a team that can step up other than Utah. Now, full disclosure, full disclaimer when discussing the Big 12 at any point during the season, things change quickly. It's like Allie Larder in Varsity Blues. Things change, Mox. I can't do that voice. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. This is before the whipped cream bikini. Great scene, by the way. So, yeah, I think Utah is the favorite right now. We'll see how things evolve, but this is going to be a week-by-week thing. This is kind of going to be like the Big 12 when TCU won it. Yeah, TCU went undefeated, but they needed like miracle win after miracle win in October, and it just sort of ping-ponged around that entire season before, the end of November, like who's going to be the villain? I think this is going to be a lot like that. Last thing in Q&A, James Russell. Can UNLV make the college football playoff? Well, winning the Mountain West gets you a pretty good shot. Top 5 conference champions are in. So there's a slot for the group of 5. Could that be UNLV? Absolutely. Matthew Sluka has been very good at quarterback. But here's the thing, and if you want to go back on the YouTube page or scroll down in the archive of episodes for the show. I actually had Barry Odom, head coach of the Running Rebels, on. It must have been April, maybe. And we talked a lot about his philosophy in terms of high school recruiting and retaining players, because they did have, a lot of players leave. Jaden Mayava, probably the one that's most high profile, went to USC, had a great year at UNLV last year. But he started talking about how, he understands that you're going to have players poached, but you also can sell yourself locally. And in Vegas, that's a really, really good way to approach it. They've got dudes that not only grew up in the area and moved on, but high school players that live in the area. That's a very fertile recruiting ground. And he's done it through high school recruiting and transfer portal recruiting of his own, filling holes with guys who he has or the program has previous relationships with. So there's that aspect up to it. I don't think UNLV is going to take a huge step back, but and the defense, buddy. If you win the Mountain West, you're probably going to get in. It's Mountain West AAC. That's the 2 that you're kind of looking at. At Utah State, at Hawaii, and at San Jose State. Any of those 3 conference games, road games, really scare you? Not me. Utah State, Hawaii, San Jose, not so much. Now, I think what is interesting is that the out-of-conference is pretty fascinating. You get Oregon State out of the Pac-2, which we'll see what happens this week in Corvallis. If they can beat Oregon, wow, that could be a signature win. Syracuse, hello, Fran Brown. We saw what they did at Georgia Tech last week. And then Kansas. Now, I just said that I don't love Kansas in the Big 12, but, it's still a Power 4 program with a really good coach and a quarterback, if he stays healthy, and Jalen Daniels is pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, if UNLV wins the Mountain West, let's just say with 1 loss in conference or whatever, or just one of those out of conference, one of those 3, Kansas, Syracuse, Oregon State's a loss. If they win the Mountain West, that's a pretty good resume, I think. And they have Boise State on the schedule as well. So if you win the conference, you have Boise State on the schedule, you have some decent out-of-conference opponents, then yeah, you can make it. In fact, I think if whoever wins that game against Boise State and UNLV is probably going to have an inside track. Them or Memphis. We'll see what happens with Memphis this week. Florida State. That should be fun. We will take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about DJ Lagway. It's college football smothered and covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. Hey, the show brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC. Let me tell you about this. When I went to Dublin, we had some internet issues on the connecting flight between Paris and Dublin on the way out there. So what did I do? I played Ultimate College Football HC. I want to take you the time to give you a heads up on what this thing does. It's an amazing game simulation to get you on your road to college football coaching glory. Can you imagine being the coach of, Michigan right now? You could probably do a lot in terms of fixing the problems they have, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships. You control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Here's what I really love about it. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the games, your strategy, all that is taken care of. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, is 100% playable offline, so you can do it on the go like I did, wherever you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for you. Use the promo code Locked On CFB. That's Locked On CFB. It's got to be all caps. Locked On CFB inside the game store, and receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk, as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just go to the ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in your app store. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. All right, let's talk about DJ Lagway. Okay. Billy Napier said, and I wrote this for Outkick, Billy Napier said that Graham Mertz and DJ will both play against Texas A&M. Now, the plan all along was for DJ Lagway to play pretty much in every single game. Speaking of smothered and covered gear, coffee mug, shirt, wearing them. The plan was always to play DJ Lagway. Not necessarily a full game in week 2. So with Graham Mertz coming back, Billy Napier says that Graham Mertz, off of his concussion, and DJ Lagway, off his first start, will both play against Texas A&M. Wrong. It's the wrong decision. Because for Florida, are either one of them going to make a massive difference in terms of the win-loss record? Not really. So if you're Billy Napier, what do you have to do? You have to sell yourself. You have to sell your program. How do you do it? You run DJ Lagway out there and you say, see that? He's my dude. He's going to have some ups. He's going to have some downs, but he is my dude. If I leave, he leaves with me. Because that's most likely that's the truth. So if you're Billy Napier, you got to roll him out there and you got to say, win or lose, DJ Lagway is my guy. And if you want him, you got to keep me. If you roll Graham Mertz out there and you go 6-6 or 7-5, that's not going to cut it. There are going to be decision makers at Florida that say, no, dude, hard pass, don't want it. If you roll DJ Lagway out there and you go 6-6 or 7-5, you're going to get a standing ovation from those same people because now they can see your vision for the future. So playing Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway, absolutely not. Roll DJ Lagway out there. Let him cook. Now, will it matter this weekend against Texas A&M? That's a big question. I'm not sure what Texas A&M is. I know defensively they're good, but I mean, it's hard for me to trust Connor Wegman. So why not let him get his first taste of true SEC experience against a good team on a big stage? Again, you don't have to treat the kid with kid gloves on. You don't have to, put him in a swaddling blanket and put him down in a crib and then come back and check on him 2 hours later. No, you don't have to do that to DJ Lagway. You were going to play him anyway. The best lessons that anybody can learn are through failure. But the ceiling for Lagway is so high. You're not going to burn him. You're not going to kill his confidence. Everybody knows that this is a hard game to play. Now, for quarterbacks, generally speaking, they've all been the man, right? They've all been the man. So it sometimes is difficult for some quarterbacks to get over failure. Everybody's going to fail. You might as well get it out of the way now. You might as well learn that lesson now. So let DJ cook. That is my opinion. And I think it's the right one, because that's why I'm saying it on this show. Speaking of this show, we're going to talk about another quarterback issue that is dancing around in the SEC, and it's not the right decision either. Going to talk about Peyton Thorne coming up on the other side. It's college football smothered and covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. Hey, the show brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. You got a to-do list to tackle, right? It's mid-September. You want to spend a Saturday just hanging around watching college football from noon till midnight, right? That means this week, after work, you got to tackle that to-do list. The best way to do that is with 5 Hour Energy. It fixes tired fast. Wherever you have a long list of to-do list or, DIY projects to tackle at home, whatever, take a 5 Hour Energy. It'll check everything off your list like that. You'll be running around like that grandma in There's Something About Mary. Vacuuming everything, cleaning everything. Hopefully you don't vacuum your dog. That's a little weird, but whatever. And it'll give you a jump start on the weekend. You won't have to worry about anything. You won't have to take any time to get things done on Saturday morning before you sit on your couch. You watch 14 straight hours of college football. Gives you the feeling of alertness and energy you need to get in that zone. Hey, with zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape berry, and there's a flavor for you. Try them all on the site. You'll even have the option to build your own 12 or 24-pack. Try them all, mix and match whatever you want to do. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com. You can get some product today. You can use the promo code Locked On College. That's Locked On College to receive 20% off your first order. That's Locked On College to receive 20% off your first order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5 Hour Energy. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. Use promo code Locked On College, and they will hook you up. All right, Peyton Thorne. I like Hugh Freeze. I think Hugh Freeze what he did was wrong. I feel like he was blacklisted for too long. Because let's be honest with what he did off the field. If everybody got banned forever for doing that, there'd be no coaches. It's a little bit of a generalization, but honestly, not much of one. Not justifying the behavior, just saying that's the truth. I think Hugh Freeze is a great offensive mind. He made Malik Willis a star college quarterback, Bo Wallace, Chad Kelly. I mean, we're not talking about the most talented people in the world, and he turned them into stat freaks, winners. So when he was hired at Auburn, I was like, okay, Hugh Freeze and Peyton Thorne, fine, whatever. That's not working. Peyton Thorne, look, his ceiling is not totally high, but it's okay. He's a pretty good quarterback when he's on. When he's off his floor, my goodness, the guy is terrible. And we saw that on Saturday in the loss to Cal. So obviously in his Monday press conference, he was asked, hey, you're going to make a quarterback change? And he left the door open. And he said, essentially paraphrasing, yeah, Peyton Thorne wins in practices all the time. He's the best practice quarterback we have. You have to start him in that case. But he also said that it's clear it's not translating to the field, and that has to change. So that is essentially saying the door is boom, wide open. So you're going to see him start Peyton Thorne on Saturday against New Mexico. Fully anticipate that happening. You are going to see the quickest hook you can possibly imagine if things start to go south again. It would be Hank Brown. It would be Walker White. What would you do if you're Hugh? I would put Walker White in. He's your dude, right? Again, sort of like Lagway. Let him cook. See what happens. You're not going to kill the kid. If he can't come back from failure mentally, then that's a him problem, right? But I think Hugh Freeze married himself to Peyton Thorne way too early last offseason. Now, I've talked to a lot of people in and around that program, know a lot of people in and around that program, and they were definitely in the market for other quarterbacks before Peyton Thorne sign there 2 years ago. They had one on the hook. I didn't think it would work out for a lot of reasons. It didn't work out for reasons that had nothing to do with football. Probably would not have been a good idea anyway. This past offseason, Auburn wasn't in that market as heavily as they should have been because Hugh, I think, married himself to Peyton Thorne way too early. But this is where Hugh Freeze has to show that he's capable of making bold decisions. He's capable of saying, I was wrong, swallowing that pride, saying, you know what? Things got to change. Now, is Walker White or Hank Brown or whoever ready to lead Auburn to SEC contention? Because let's face it, an ACC loss doesn't count, but no, they're not. But could Auburn still be a 7-5 team with that schedule? Yeah, they could if they get decent quarterback play. It's essentially the same thing we had discussed the offseason. If they get decent quarterback play, they're going to be all right. They're not getting it. So you got to find somewhere else. And like I said, Hugh Freeze has done a lot with not a ton of talent at quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, that'll do it. Thank you for making this your first listen. For your second listen, go to Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin has you covered with everything you want to know about the world of college football. You can find it on the Locked On Podcast Network in the description below. I'm pointing down. You can also look on the Apple, Spotify description. You can find a link there as well. Until Wednesday, have a great Tuesday, everybody. We will talk to you very soon.